Okay, today we're going to be looking at DMA 40, and I'm going to be lecturing on sections 5 and 6. Section 5 is the multiplication property. The multiplication property. And section 6 is going to be pulling all of the different skills that we learned from the previous sections combined with this as well. So with the addition property, what we did was when we have a problem, in order to solve the equation, we do the opposite on one side to solve for the other. So in this case, we have -5 times m is equal to -10. Since this represents multiplication, the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide this side by -5, which makes those cancel out, and I'm left with just an m. I also need to divide by -5 on the other side. So a negative divided by a negative gives me a +2. In this scenario, we have -y equals 12. If I'm solving for what y is equal to, what's not written but we have to realize is there's an understood 1. So to get y alone, we're going to divide both sides by -1. That negative ones are going to cancel, and a positive divided by a negative would give a negative. Now, in this situation here, we are going to have n divided by 2. So the opposite of dividing is to multiply. So I'm going to have to take both sides and times by 2. On this side, the 2's are going to cancel, so my n, and 2 times -5 gives me -10. Now, I know sometimes you're nervous when you see fractions, but when you see a fraction, don't get nervous. This is multiplication. Just like on the previous slide, we had -5 times m. On this side, it's -5/8 times x. So it's still a simple multiplication. The opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by -5/8. Here, as we notice, the fraction cancels out. And when you do this, I want you to use your calculator. So use your calculator and do -40 divided by -5/8. So in this case, you can just type it out, and you're going to get a solution of +64. Okay, let's try another one like that again with a fraction. If I have 3/2 x, -7/8. In order to get x alone, the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide both sides by the fraction 3/2. So that's going to cancel and leave me with x. So I have -7/8 divided by a +3/2. So we're going to go back to the calculator. I have a -7/8, arrow to the right, divided by 3/2. So when you have fractions, just don't hesitate, key them in and solve just as if it were whole numbers. And in this case, we'll get a -7/12. You don't have to change it to multiplying by the reciprocal. You don't have to go through all the other steps. Just utilize using your calculator for that process. Okay, let's try another one here. Now, for this one, I'm going to give us a little bit of distributing to do as well. We're going to practice a little bit of that distributing we've done before. So in this case, as we get ready to solve, we first need to distribute. So 2x is 6x, 3 times 5 is 15. And then on this side, we have 8x minus 5. So at this point so far, There's no like terms to combine on the left, no like terms to combine on the right. What we're going to do is we're going to take the x from the right and move it to the left. So the opposite of adding is to subtract 8x. That's going to make the 8x cancel. Subtract 8x. 6 minus 8 is going to give me a negative 2x. Bring down my plus 15 is equal to negative 5. Now I want to move that adding a 15, I want to move that to the other side. So in the opposite would be to subtract 15 to move it over. So now that's going to cancel. Negative 2x equals, now don't do this in your head. A lot of times people would write that the answer is a negative 10, but it's not. You're going to do negative 5 minus 15, which is going to give us a negative 20. So that's negative 20. To get x alone, we're going to divide both sides by the negative 2. And a negative divided by negative gives us a positive 10 for our final solution. As we continue in section 5, there's a couple of problems that ask us, they're kind of in the form of a word problem, asking us about consecutive integers or consecutive odd integers or consecutive even integers. So what we want to do is see first and be sure we understand what that means. So consecutive numbers would be such as 1, 2, 5, 6. They are numbered one after the other. If you hear the term consecutive, either consecutive even or consecutive odd. Consecutive even numbers would be 2, 4, 6, 10. Even numbers. Consecutive odd would be like 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. So what may happen is you might be asked to find the sum of the first 4 consecutive numbers. I want to know the sum of the first 4 consecutive numbers. When I do a problem like this, I like to make 2 columns, a think and a use. The first 4 consecutive numbers would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the numbers I'm thinking of. What are the first 4 consecutive numbers? For the smallest value, that's always going to be your variable x. And in this case, x is a 1. How do I get 2? If x is 1, 1 plus 1 would give me 2. If x is 1, 1 plus 2 gives me 3. If the x is 1, 1 plus 3 is going to give me 4. So these would be the values that I would be adding. I would have x plus, just a second, my computer's trying to do some thinking or something. Let's try this again. So we have x plus 1 plus x plus 2 plus x plus 3. So if we combine this, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 x's, and then I have 1 plus 2 is 3, and 3 plus 3 is 6. So for this scenario, my answer is 4x plus 6. Okay? Let's say you're asked about the first 3 consecutive odd numbers. If you're setting up a problem for this, we're going to do our think and our use column. My first 3 odd numbers are 1, 3, and 5. I'm using x for the smaller value. Plus what is 3? X plus 2. If x is 1, 1 plus 4 is what would give us 5. So if I'm adding these together, I'm going to use these for my formula, plus x plus 2 plus x plus 4. So 1, 2, 3 x's, and then I've got a 2 plus 4. That would give me a 6. So anytime you're doing problems with consecutive even, consecutive odd, or consecutive numbers, make yourself a think column, as I have here, and then a use column, and then the use column is the one that you're going to use actually in your word problem. Okay, section 6 is further solving linear equations. So in section 6, what's going to happen is we're going to have a variety of polynomials that we're going to be solving. Let me give you one such as 5 minus 2 x1 equals 4 plus x. So as we look at this, what we're going to do is the distributing is only going to be with the negative 2. We do not do 5 minus 2 and put 3. That would be incorrect. We just bring down the 5. Negative 2 times x is minus 2x. Negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. And then here I have 4 plus x. On the left side, I'm going to put my negatives first. That's all alone. But I need to combine these two like terms, 5 and 2, give me 7. In order to solve, I'm going to move my x to the other side. So I'm subtracting x to make that cancel. Negative 2x, this is like minus 1x. Negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3x. Plus 7 equals. We're going to move our 7 to the other side by subtracting and doing the opposite. Negative 3x is equal to 4 minus 7 is negative 3. To get x alone, we're going to divide by negative 3 both sides. And x is equal to negative divided by negative gives me a positive 1. Okay, now I'm going to give you a problem, and this is one such as something that you're going to see when you do your testing. It is not a hard problem, but the first time people see it, they think it's a little complicated. So when you look at this, hopefully the first thing that you notice are parentheses. When you see you have parentheses, you're going to distribute. Distribute first. So when I distribute, I now have 3x minus 15 over 2 and 2x plus 10 over. So the very first thing was I distributed to remove the parentheses. My next most important thing is I have in the bottom denominators a divided by 2 divided by 3. So what I'm going to now do is I'm going to multiply both sides by both denominators. So that means I'm going to times both sides by 2, and I'm going to times both sides by 3. Once I write down that I'm going to multiply both sides by both denominators, I'm going to cancel out denominators and recopy what's left. So here my 2 cancels. I'm left with that 3 in front times 3x minus 15. On this side, my 3 cancels out. I'm left with that 2 times 2. Now, when you look at this, you're going, oh my gosh, this is very simple. I'm going to distribute again. That's all we're going to do is distribute again. Here and then here. So 3 times 3, we got 9x, 5. 2 times 2, that gives me 4x plus 20. And at this point, all we do now is finish solving for x. So I'm going to move my 4x to the left. That will make this cancel. I'm going to do this in 2 steps so I can stay on the same page. This minus 45, I'm going to add 45 to move that to the other side. Now, 9 minus 4 is x. 20 plus 45 gives me 65. Next, I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and x is equal to, and just double check yourself, 65 divided by 5 should give us 13. You will see one like this again when you do your test, okay? So that's all of sections 5 and 6. Thank you.